Hey folks, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a question about waves, and it's about standing waves. So we're just going to jump right into it. You're designing an organ for a new concert hall. The lowest note that will be played is 23 hertz, and they want us to minimize the length of the organ pipe used. So we got to know what type of pipe to use and if it should be open or closed at both ends or one end. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So just extracting some information, the lowest frequency they want us to get to is 23 hertz. And they want us to decide whether we should have it open in one end or both ends or closed. So we're just going to write down all the possibilities that we could have. So we could have closed at both ends. So, these are the ends. We could have open at one end and close at the other. And then we could also have open at both ends. So these are our three scenarios for the different types of pipes that we might get. Now, straight away, if you're looking at the first scenario, you should obviously have alarm bells ringing, because if both ends are closed, then there's no way of getting any sound inside. So we can't have any waves or sound. Now, the important thing to note about the other scenarios is that if you have a closed end, the wave must reach the center. And if you have an open end, the wave must reach the end. So let's just write that down. And that's just how I like to remember it, and I find that that's a good way of it working for me. So in this scenario, the wave would be from here to here, or also here. It doesn't really matter which side you use. And in this scenario, it would be from here to here, which means it comes down and then goes back up. So they want us to minimize the length of pipe used. So they basically want us to make this as small as possible so that we save on material. So if we look at the size of the waves, we find that this wave is much longer than this wave, because a full wave essentially starts from 0, does a full cycle, and then ends back at 0. So if we look at this wave over here, essentially what we're doing is just drawing this part of the wave. And if we look at this wave over here, we're drawing this part of the wave. So the important thing to note here is that we want to basically optimize or get the largest wavelength possible with the shortest length. So get the largest frequency, lowest frequency, which is largest wavelength. So we want to basically get this to be as long as possible with as little pipe as possible. So the resulting pipe that we're going to use is number 2. And that's because we get the longest wave from the shortest length of pipe. So we've determined now that one end will be open and one end will be closed. But we just have to determine how long this length needs to be now. So that's basically what we're going to calculate. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use the frequency that is given to us. So we know it's not this now. And we know it's not this. So I'm just going to make this diagram a little bigger on the right-hand side. Great. So we're going to call this L. And the lowest frequency that it has to hit, so basically the longest wavelength, is 23 hertz. So what we're going to basically do is convert this number of frequency to an actual length. And then once we calculate the length, then we're going to find out how long this pipe is. So again, a full wave looks like this. And really what we're doing is calculating the pipe has this first section of it, which is what you're seeing over here. So again, just looking at the wave, you can tell that that's 1/4 of the total wavelength. So just keep that in the back of your head right now. That's going to come in useful later. So now let's convert this f into an actual distance, because frequency gives us, the wavelength, but we don't actually have the actual distance of that wavelength. So we know that the speed of sound is 340 meters per second. And we know that the frequency is 23 hertz. But we also know that the time taken for one frequency is just the inverse. So t is just 1 over f, which implies that the time for one wave is just 1 over 23 seconds. We also know that speed of any wave, including light, is equal to distance over time. So, rearranging that equation, what we find is that speed times time is equal to distance. So we have basically everything we need to compute the distance we want. So again, we're going to calculate speed times time now. So we know that speed is 340 and time is 1 over 23. So the distance for a full wavelength is equal to speed times time, which is 340 times 1 over 23. But the length of the pipe is not a full wavelength. The length of a pipe is equal to 1/4 of the full wavelength, which is what we found over here, looking at the pipe. So to get the length, we just do d divided by 4, which is 340 divided by 23 times 4. So just plugging that into your calculator now, we find that the length of the pipe is 3.695 meters, which is about 3.7 meters. We have our answer.